It is. It's loading, but most likely that means we are already going to be live in six-figure Medicare Agent.
Boom.
Guys, welcome to Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. So what tacos did you bring to the table today, Mr. Sheldon?
Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. And I was actually trying to go all out today. I was going to try to get my background here on Zoom to look like Taco Bell. I spent like 10 minutes downloading Taco Bell pictures. I wanted it to look like I was sitting in Taco Bell while we were doing this, but unfortunately my background wouldn't change. But this is what it's all about, you guys. If you're looking for a taco, especially if we're talking about Taco Bell's menu, it's the nacho cheese.
Ooh.
Camera. This is the supreme nacho cheese Doritos Locos Taco. So bringing the heat today on Taco Tuesday. This is cardboard, you guys. You don't eat the cardboard. I want to make sure that's clear in case we have some hungry.
Glenn's like, I tried. It didn't work so well.
I experimented. The cardboard's not to be eaten. But yeah, Christian, how about you? What do you have?
Okay, so today I decided to change it up with some Del Taco.
Ooh,
Del Taco. And
what'd you get from there? I like Del Taco.
We don't have anything special. We just have the crunchy tacos. But does it need to be special with Del Taco?
Del Taco is about that consistent taco experience. It's not about the specialty tacos there. I almost really went out on a limb and made my own homemade tacos, but then I was like, no. I was actually too late.
That'd be some commitment.
Yeah.
I can just see a customer, be like, hey, Glenn, I need to talk to you about something. Not now. I'm insanely busy with this important task. I'm making tacos for Taco Tuesday.
I'm making tacos for Taco Tuesday Medicare interview. It's very important. But no, so to kind of transition the conversation here. So yesterday we were talking about an agent I was dealing with in Florida. And then you talked about sign spinning, and I was actually going to comment this, but for whatever reason I didn't. But I was thinking, I'm like, man, what if you were able to say you get a taco for a free quote for insurance? Who wouldn't want? Who you could quote everybody?
It's under the $15 limit, so it'd probably be legal.
There you go. Unless it's a special. That's what, Del Taco, yeah. But what if you got a specialty taco? Got the DOI looking into it.
Ooh.
Sir, what type of tacos were you serving on the beach? I need to know right now.
Or like CMS is auditing you for spending too much money on these tacos.
I'm going to go on a limb right now. Any agent watching this, if you happen to get in trouble by CMS for giving away tacos, I will cover the legal bill 100%.
Just going to be honest with you guys. My errors and omissions insurance does not cover that.
If your E&O does not cover giving away tacos, I will go ahead and represent you myself personally.
You have lead heroes backing you every step of the way.
We're all about insurance leads and taco quotes. But no, on a serious note, so I had this agent who was buying leads from us, and I got 2 zip codes. And this was actually an order that I didn't specifically see. It came through the website. And so it kind of just automated into our system, and my team was working on it. And that's when I started looking at this order when we were having issues with it. But this agent requested 2 zip codes, and then I'm looking at these zip codes, and it's like beachfront Miami. Like Miami's bad enough from a marketing perspective as it is, and I think a lot of people know that. There's a few reasons for that. Like 1, super densely populated. 2, I think you have a lot of like vacation travel, so you have people that are kind of in and out of Miami, which that's not great for marketing either. Like you want that ma and pa, right? Yeah, exactly. You want that like
Christians of the world.
Yeah, you want people who are going to be home all the time, who live there. Homeowners, like those are your best leads.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spanish speaking is another variable there too. You're so far south. There's a lot of Spanish speakers. So in general, for anyone watching this, if you're trying to generate leads in Miami, good luck. Good luck. And if you can figure it out, I'm sure there's a lot of money to be made for you. But anyways, this agent wants leads. He wants it in just the beachfront area, South Beach, Miami, like right there. And I'm talking to him, and it's an older gentleman, And, he was very set and like, this is it. This is the area. This is my local area. I don't want leads anywhere else. And I call these agents backyard agents because they literally only want leads in their backyard. They're not interested in getting leads anywhere else. Even I've had agents too who are even like, yeah, I'm licensed in like 30 states for referrals, but I only work my local area. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. And I would love to hear kind of what you think about that, Christian, and Medicare sales. Yeah.
So
fire away, dude.
The thing that was interesting to me is like, so this guy, he wants leads in this market. If he's an older guy, my first reaction is maybe he's been in the business a while. You'd think that he would know that it's probably not a very prime market. I mean, maybe he just, is looking around to kind of see if can anybody deliver me leads in this area, because maybe he hasn't been able to get them himself. I mean, but it's interesting because I was having a conversation the other day with an agent of ours who lives in Florida. And I was telling her, I was basically, telling her, be like, Miami's a really great Medicare market in general, but only if you're selling Medicare Advantage.
Makes sense.
If you're selling Medicare supplements, you're going to starve to death.
I mean, Florida's a weird state for Medicare.
Yeah.
It's really weird. There's not as much competition between carriers. Medicare Advantage is way more popular. And that's kind of natural with more densely populated states and cities. Sure. There's also another comment that was made in that Facebook thread yesterday about Florida that I've always felt strongly about, but I feel like a lot of people don't believe this. I think that there's a ton of insurance agents in Florida. Whether you're working in a call center there or you're just trying to do business locally, there's this kind of like, it's like two ideologies. There's like this one group of people who think Florida is like a holy mecca for insurance. There's so many seniors there, like sell insurance there. I mean, there's like the people who've like done it and understand that it's terrible. It's saturated, like low response. I like the panhandle. If we are marketing in Florida, like the panhandle is not too bad. You're like, you're basically not in Florida anymore because you're so far, but like central Florida down to the tip is just tough. I think across the board.
So like I spent 10 months living in Florida.
Where at?
Earlier on in my career. And it's like another world. Like I think, especially for someone like me, and I think a lot of people can relate, my home state where I started building my business in Utah, it's pretty much for the most part, the plans are the same in the whole state or a majority of the state, or there's like maybe 3 different areas and make up different plans and that's it. So there's not as much learning curve to have in terms of plans. But in Florida, first of all, since it's a very hot spot, like you said, for Medicare Advantage, there's 1,000,001 Medicare Advantage carriers. Like every company you've ever heard of has Medicare Advantage in Florida, and a couple you probably haven't heard of. And the plans are different in every single county. So I think, especially for a new agent coming in, that's challenging because it's hard enough for them to remember, okay, this is what I do when I'm selling a Medicare supplement. This is what I look for. This is what I look for Medicare Advantage. But then they have to understand that, okay, I'm going 20 minutes south or something, and I'm in a different county and all the plans are different. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's interesting. But Miami is an interesting market too, because like I sold 2 Medicare Advantage plans in Miami in the last month. And both of the ones I sold, they were just unbelievable. They had like $1,000 max out of pocket. They had $0 hospital copays, 0.
Wow.
Not $10, nothing. It was 0. And they weren't D-SNPs. They weren't special needs. They were regular Medicare Advantage plans. So, I mean, Florida's like another country in terms of Medicare plans.
Yeah, I think I feel like Portland I haven't looked at Portland's Medicare Advantage plans lately. Portland's like one of the biggest major cities close to me, but it seems like these major metro areas, they have such a great population in network that they're able to do these plans that a lot of other places can't do, But what do you think about selling. So how many clients do you have in Florida? Do you have quite a few? Just a handful.
I'm trying to think. Probably about 80 roughly.
Fair amount.
Don't have a huge amount. I mean, the majority of our clients are here in Utah, but
Right.
I spent 10 months living there. Obviously, some have dropped off, but we still get referrals from there. The crazy thing to me is like we get about 10 to 20 leads a month at this point, depending on the month. I mean, some months we'll have maybe 5, but most months we'll get about 10 to 20 of leads that come from the podcast. And
Wow.
I'd say over half of those come from Florida, come from the rest of the country.
The Florida man.
So, I mean, I'd say a majority of the clients we've gotten now, I've gotten after I lived there, which is really crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, Florida's just a crazy, crazy market. I mean, it's everywhere. The plans are rich as can be, but like, I think if you're selling Medicare supplements and that's it, Florida's not the market for you. I just think so.
I think you're in a pretty good state for MedSup. I know Salt Lake City, obviously there's quite a bit Medicare Advantage, but overall statewide, I love marketing in Utah. I think that's a great state.
Yeah. I think Utah's a very good state. I think Colorado's a good MedSup state. Idaho's probably a pretty good MedSup state if I had to just think of a couple that I've had good experiences with.
Yeah. Idaho's not bad.
I think Texas is kind of underrated for MedSup. What do you think about that?
I have like a love-hate relationship with Texas. It's kind of, I personally think the problem is similar to Florida in the sense that so many people get licensed in Texas, especially if they're trying to sell over the phone. I think the thought process with a lot of agents and call centers and agency owners is, if I get licensed in Texas, it's such a big state and there's such a big population. I don't need to get licensed in 10 other states. So the other problem too with Texas, again, it can be Spanish speaking. You get closer to the border. If you're not bilingual, if your agency doesn't have anyone who speaks Spanish, now you might have a lot of people that you're dealing with that you can't help. So that's one thing to take. Definitely, especially if you're targeting like the counties, you can obviously look and see what counties are closest to the border, and I would definitely be mindful of that. But I do like, overall, I would say I like Texas though, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing, was I put out on the group a couple of weeks ago that I was thinking about starting to market in California more. And Rebecca Davis gave me the idea, obviously, because she put that post up. She's like, you only need 300 clients to have 6 figures.
Right.
I'm like, it took me more than that to get there. And I was like, I started looking at it and I started considering it and I posted about it and I just got a wave of negativity. They're like, stay away, bro, stay away.
I remember seeing that.
What has your experience been marketing there?
California is so big, you can basically, like, if you could take an axe and just chop it right in half at the center of it, right? Yeah. Love the top half. Top half of the state's fantastic for marketing, great for MedSup. You've got the birthday rule in California. So if you are licensed there and you're competent, if you're a competent agent, cross your fingers. If you know about the birthday rule. For any if you're new and you're watching this and you're not sure what the birthday rule is, it's guaranteed issue if they apply within 30 days of their birthday. So obviously health underwriting can be a big issue with trying to move people from one MedSup plan to another. So Oregon has the same rule. And then Missouri has the anniversary rule, which is basically the birthday rule. And then Maine is guaranteed issue year round. And Washington, where I live, is guaranteed issue year round. I think, is there any other states that are weird like that has special rules?
See, I didn't know that. I knew about Oregon, Washington, California, but I didn't know about any others. I did an Everything Medicare podcast episode about the birthday rule, actually, earlier on this year. My dad suggested it. He's like, you should do a podcast about that. I bet most people don't know about that. So I said, great. So I did. And I get this nasty email from this agent. And he's like, that's not, that's not a real thing. It's a myth.
No. No.
I live in California. He's like, you're just an idiot behind a microphone.
Can you
And I'm
post that? Can you like
I,
after
I
this
have to find
interview?
it.
I
I have to
I
find it.
want
I'll go look
that
for it.
email
I'll
post.
go
Just
look
black
for it.
out, black out the personal information.
I'll go look for it.
That's fantastic. That's what I'm talking about.
So I send an email back. I take some screenshots of Medicare.gov pages, basically
Yeah.
talking about the birthday rule, and I email it back to him, and I never got a reply after that. But I'm just like, the thing that I've noticed is like the more well known I get, the more I have people that just want to come and kick me in the head. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that one made me laugh. I was like, man, I'm like, this guy's personally offended by this, that he didn't know about this.
There's a lot to know, I think, especially when you first get into Medicare. I mean, it took me years before I felt like I had a good grasp on it,
Yeah, me too.
And you get a life and health license, especially if you come in on the life side, which I think a lot of producers do. Life is so straightforward. You pay this, you get this death benefit. We just got to see if you qualify. And there's a lot of more moving parts with Medicare. But, like Washington here locally, a lot of people don't market here because it's guaranteed issue and your commission percentage is usually a lot less on the sup side of the coin. But the reality is the premiums are higher here because it's guaranteed issue. So overall, it's not as big of a cut in your commission when you start doing business in Washington State. So
Right. When you do the math,
yeah.
when you do the math and that kind of stuff, like I had an agent recently that we sent some contracts to for med subs, and I gave him the most I could possibly give him, like, and it was
5%, right?
say again.
5%, right?
No, that, more than that.
Hey guys, contract with Christian right now. It's
Contract
free leads for life,
5%. Free leads, 3%, 3.5% if you're lucky. If you produce, you get 3.5%. No,
We're gonna bump you to 5.
I think the most I was able to give the guy, like with a certain carrier, I think we sent him a Cigna contract, and I think I sent him like 16, 17% or something like that, which was a lot for what was available there.
Sure.
Because like the med sub commission contracts are so low there, it was weird, like without like showing some production proof for him, we couldn't really get him any more than that with this carrier. And basically, I remember he's like, I watched a YouTube video where they said I should get 20%. I'm like, in most states, that's street level. In most states, 20, 21, 22%, whatever, that's street level. But I'm like, you live in a weirdo state. I'm sorry. I'm like, you just do, and I had to basically
Knock
shut
them down. Yeah.
What I was talking about. But yeah, I mean, Washington's a weirdo for med subs.
Washington weirdos.
Weirdo.
We're the weirdos.
It is weird. Glenn's up there, so
that's right.
Wreaking
havoc. What do you think is the number one best state? If you're brand new, you're willing to get licensed anywhere, and you had to pick one state and you try to get rid of your bias, since obviously your state, you had to pick one, only one. What state are you picking, and why are you picking that state?
I love this question. So do I have to live there? Of course I have to live there, right?
You don't have to live there. You can sell remote, right?
Okay.
And I guess we should say, let's clarify and say you're trying to sell med subs, right?
Okay, I'm trying to sell med subs.
Yeah, your focus is med subs. You can get licensed in any state. You can only pick one state. What state are you picking and why?
Well, for starters, I'm not licensed in every state. So there's probably some really good med sub states that I'm just missing because I'm not there and I'm not experienced with that state. But out of
you could take a stat. If you think there's a state that you're not licensed right now, and you're like, I think this state would be awesome.
And it's killing it.
Yeah, that's a valid answer.
I've always heard that Ohio's a good med sub state. But I don't know. I'm not licensed there. I don't have any experience with it. I've just heard that from people. I've heard it's Ohio and Wyoming, I think I've heard are good med sub states. Would you say that's accurate?
Ohio, it's tough because they actually have strict Medicare telemarketing laws. So we can make calls there for final expense, but we can't do Medicare calls. So
Mm,
that's what's tough. So
that's a tough state. Okay,
yeah,
so that one's out.
that one makes it a little tough. But Wyoming is a gold mine. The problem is, and the reason I wouldn't pick Wyoming is just because there's not a ton of people there. Like,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
Alaska
great in the
effect.
sense that like everyone's got to have a med sub, and it's super rural, so a lot of people are they're home, they're answering their phones. But yeah, that's the biggest problem is there's just not enough. You need that like sweet blend of population and kind of rural, less networks, less Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I've always loved writing med subs in Utah. Obviously, part of the reason I pick another state just so I'm not picking my home state because the last thing I want is for everyone that watches this to go start selling in Utah. Stay away.
Everyone, go take Christian's clients.
But but
Go.
but in Utah, well, I mean, and you and I talked about this a little bit, back when we did our lead review video for you guys. Like I think, I told you the first week of getting the leads, I wrote 3 med subs, and you're like, what? You're like, how? And I was like, well, in Utah, we have our local Blue Cross Blue Shield company has a ridiculous guaranteed issue program.
Yeah.
Um, and basically the way that it works is as long as someone purchased their current med sub after June 1st of 2010, I believe. And if they're changing from the same plan to the same plan with Blue Cross, or if it's the same or lesser, so they can go from F to F or F to G or F to N or G to N or whatever. It's no health questions, no underwriting. It's a straight shot. Not to mention that company pays lifetime commissions.
It's
So
crazy.
I don't know of any other med sub carrier anywhere that does that. And so just because of that alone, my gut reaction is Utah. But if I had to pick a place other than Utah, I'd probably pick Colorado. Writing med subs in Colorado, I've just had really good experience with it, so that's probably the one I would pick out of the states that I'm licensed in. I would say Texas, but just like you said, there's too much Medicare Advantage penetration, I feel.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, I don't know. Something about Texas just doesn't quite drive
I like
for
it.
me.
I
It's
like
not
it, but
bad. It's not bad. I don't think it's the best though. Um, when I very first started looking at into Medicare, and like I was starting to do some of my own Medicare sales, I thought Kansas was going to be like the holy grail. I was like, I just need to carve out Kansas. Once I lock Kansas up, I'm like, it's done. 300, right? 300 clients, shout out Rebecca. Uh, and I'm thinking, Kansas is the magic state, but I don't know if I would pick Kansas today. It's good for MA versus Med Sub. Like it's definitely a Med Sub state, but I don't know, man. It is tough to only pick one.
it
Um,
really
I like
is. I
I
mean,
like
one
Colorado.
state that I've always, yeah, Colorado's great. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was a good
I love
pick.
Colorado. I mean, one state that's always been interesting to me, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on it, was always been Alaska, because the Medicare Advantage market share is so small, but like you said earlier, there's no people there,
Yeah.
so I'm probably having, that same effect.
So it's funny you bring that up. So within the last month, I'd say we actually targeted Alaska for somebody. And I kind of had this opinion that Alaska was going to be very similar to Wyoming, where amazing, but not a lot of people to target. But we actually didn't get a great response up there. So, it could be, there's something to be said about like regional demographics. So for example, if I call New York versus New Jersey, we actually get a little better response in New York, and New Jersey. It just seems like there's kind of this regional, hey, F you. I mean, I'll listen to these phone calls from our call center and like, it's unbelievable. Like, it sounds like I've got an 80-year-old grandma on the phone and she's swearing like a sailor. Like, I F you, don't call me back. I can't do a Jersey accent. I'm not even going to attempt right now, but just imagine an 80-year-old woman to, Jersey Shore, right? I mean, what just swearing up a storm. You hear like a lawnmower in the background. I'm like, what is going on? So like any agents in Jersey, like hats off to you. I know
Yeah.
that's another state, like right there with Florida, which this is actually a quick sidebar. So last week I did a contest and I said, you may have seen this, but I asked, I got over 50 responses and I said the 3 lowest responsive states for Medicare marketing, and nobody could guess the bottom 3. So that was something I did want to ask you today. If you had to pick the bottom 3, the worst 3 states where if you spent your marketing dollars, it's not going to go as far. What do you think the worst 3 states are?
Man, that's a tough question. Okay, so I'm gonna say
I think you'll get this. I believe in you. I believe.
I'm glad somebody does. Florida?
That's one. That's
Okay.
one. There you go.
So, well, I know that, every agent and their dog is in Florida.
Yes.
California?
Yep, that's 2. So one more.
2 for 3.
2 for 3.
New York?
So I got that response a couple of times, but I kind of gave it up there a second ago. New Jersey, we actually get a little worse response than New York. They're kind of close.
You did.
Yeah,
right.
They're kind of close, but it comes back to that like regional, just the attitude of the people there just seems like they're more pissed off. I don't know what it is. Maybe if someone watches this, they can comment on this video and tell me, why is New Jersey worse than New York? But yeah, in my opinion, that's the 3 worst. You've got a large saturation of people. You've got low responsive, these big metro areas, low responsive. Again, California is unique in the sense that I think the top half is actually not bad. The bottom half with LA County is just a nightmare. I can't tell you how many times we've tried to, it's like going to a dry well and just trying to pull water out of it. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you guys. LA is not responding.
Like, one thing that was really interesting to me, and I think Justin told me this, and I think I heard this from Cody too. I heard it from a couple, people that, pretty big time marketers. And I don't know why it is, but they said that at least for like Facebook ads and, I think specifically they were talking about Facebook ads, but Salt Lake City is one of the hardest places to get. They were saying for Facebook ads, Salt Lake City is a very difficult place to run ads for because there's some company out there somewhere, probably eHealth or somebody like that, that's just dumping millions of dollars into the algorithm. And they're targeting like this area specifically. And so,
well, isn't eHealth's call center in Salt Lake?
I don't know. I thought it was in California.
I thought they had, I think they have multiple call centers, but
I think so too.
I think eHealth has a call center in Utah. So maybe that's why, because
maybe so. Maybe
that's very interesting.
But yeah, I mean, of all places, I just was like Salt Lake City. I'm like, maybe they just think that Mormons make good clients. Maybe just
could be. Maybe they live longer, right?
Yeah,
no
they're
drugs.
happier.
Yeah, no drugs, no alcohol. So
great family values,
if I had a theory about again, being in this industry as long as I have and seeing kind of why people spend money and where, it seems like usually it starts at the top, starts with the carriers, right? So the carrier says, hey, we have a special plan we want you to sell for us, and we're gonna bonus you if you sell a bunch of this new plan. We're really excited about this new plan. And then all the big FMOs, call centers, agencies, now they're attacking that, and they're looking for the areas where that plan is popular or really easy for them to get clients for that new plan. So that would be my guess, is that there's some MA carrier that's kicking out big bonuses that Salt Lake has a good network for. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, Salt Lake, like you said, Utah is a good med sub state. It's not a bad med sub state. And so like I would say, without knowing the numbers off the top of my head, it's been a minute since I've looked at them, but I'd say the market share for Medicare Advantage is probably 60%, 55, 60% here. And I'd say probably MedSup has pretty sizable market share comparison to like some other states. And so, it's a weird thing to think about, because you would think they would be more focused on the bigger areas, but like you said, maybe they figured that out, that the metro areas are just harder to pull results from.
Who's the number one carrier in Utah? Who has the most Medicare clients? UHC?
It's definitely United Healthcare.
Yeah, United Health. That's what I was
They
thinking.
probably have 60-70% of the Medicare Advantage market share here.
That's crazy.
They just annihilate everybody. Now, from what I remember, isn't United doing really well in Oregon and Washington right now?
Man, it's hard to keep track. There's someone's always got the hot hand. I know one of the hot hands right now and here locally in Washington is Humana. But you know how it's a leapfrog, right? Where one carrier has this hot rate and then 6 months later, they're not offering it anymore. And then someone else comes in and, oh, it's Mutual of Omaha, like whoever wants to lower their price for the moment. But yeah, it's crazy to think how much United, I mean, they've got to have such a large portion of business just across the US. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, with United, I was talking about this the other day. I did a live video about out-of-state appointment fees, non-resident appointment fees.
I saw that.
They're the biggest company by a mile. They're 5 or 6 on the Fortune 500 list. And they're the only company that I'm aware of that won't pay non-resident appointment fees for agents.
Wow.
Agents pay for them,
Yeah.
I just got dinged the other day for a state we picked up, like 80, $90, and I'm like, oh, thanks a lot, you guys. You guys are just peachy. Humana pays them for us. Aetna pays them for us. Everybody pays them for us. But United's like, nope, we're taking this out of your commission. We can't afford this.
What about the commission contract update that everyone was freaking out about? Is that finally resolved with UHC?
Yeah, so we're just coming out of the tunnel with that right now.
Yeah.
The thing about United was, anybody that was contracting as a new agent, they weren't able to basically get their contracts all the way through or get a writing number until this whole thing passed. So I had like one agent I had was like 47 days.
Holy cow.
His certifications to get his writing number.
That's insane.
So that was the biggest problem for me. Like, they weren't paying any new commissions on new sales during this whole time either. So I think a lot of new agents were really hit hard by that are kind of relying on those commissions, but they just started paying them this month.
Is it a 60-day? How long was all of this on hold with them?
It was about 60 days.
60 days. I thought it was 2 months. Yeah, I thought it was 2 months. That's nuts. That they couldn't do that fast. I don't know, multi-billion-dollar company took 60. Bigger they are, the slower they move, I guess. That's nuts.
Yeah. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I have a question for Glenn Shelton.
Fire away.
I'm going to put Glenn Shelton on the hot seat for everybody.
Here we go.
Will Glenn Shelton ever go back as being an agent?
Oh, that is a good question. And there's so many days where I wish I was an agent or I had an agency and I wasn't just a marketer or I guess teacher, one of the many hats I wear here at Lead Heroes. I don't know. I don't have necessarily a definitive answer on that. I think it's possible. I've retained my license over the years, mainly just to say I have it, and from a marketing standpoint, like I do want people to know, I was an agent. I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars in life insurance. I've only done a little bit on the Medicare side, but the point being that, like, why are you gonna go buy marketing from a company that has no idea what insurance is and they're just a big faceless name, right? There's lots of those out there. So would I get back in? Possibly. If I were to get back in, here's the real answer is if I were to start selling insurance tomorrow, I would focus 100% on MedSup and I would do it from home. And I would just, sell over the phone and attack some of these more rural states like we've been talking about. I mean, if I could go back in time and talk to myself as I was getting licensed, that's what if I could just like push a message right now, like 10 years back, which is about 10 years now, that's what I would say. I would say, just focus on MedSup, don't sell anything else, and just do that for the next 10 years. But there's the problem is there was so much negativity that was thrown at me about Medicare when I got into the industry. There's no money in Medicare. Oh, did you see what happened to the under 65 health insurance? All these people lost their commissions. You want to do that? You're going to chase Medicare and you're going to lose your commissions. Oh, it's too heavily regulated. Aren't you familiar with CMS and Medicare Advantage? And, just on and on and on and on. It was like everyone I talked to in my network at that time, and I didn't have a big insurance network at the time. A lot of it was my IMO, FMO, some people online. There wasn't a huge network like I feel like I have now. But yeah, that was the unfortunate part. But that's also part of the reason why I'm as vocal as I am today, because I want people to know and understand how this all works.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I'd like to ask you that same question back to you. That if you could push one piece of advice back to yourself at the very start of getting your license, whenever that was, what would you tell yourself? Just one quick thing that you think would make a huge difference?
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, I think the number one thing for me that I'd do differently if I could do it all over again was, I wish I did not wait as long as I did to start investing into my business. Because when I first started, I as many people know, I came in working with my dad. My dad was a pioneer in Utah Medicare. He was the number one producer for Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield here for probably 12, 13 years in a row, in the 90s and early 2000s. So my dad was a very accomplished agent. But my dad also, built his business in different times,
Right. Yeah.
And so, what he taught us how to do, was he taught us how to cold call, which is a great skill. I'm glad I have that skill today. But the 3 years of my career, I was probably almost exclusively building my business up cold calling. Very little money on leads, hardly any. Basically just making cold calls, and I was good at it. And I built my business basically from 0 to 6 figures on the back of that. But I feel like I could have accomplished a lot more, a lot faster if I got in my head that, hey, this money you're making, invest it back into your business. Put it back into your business. Like my second year, I went to Malaysia with a friend of mine who's in our office, and I spent a month there, and I spent so much money. I spent like half my AEP money that year. My second year. And I was like,
you live and you learn, man.
Yeah. And then when I look at it today, I'm like, imagine if I invested that into learning how to market sooner,
Right.
Like what if I was investing into Google AdWords back then and trying to learn how to do that? Or, what if I was buying direct mail leads? It's better than nothing. So I kind of feel like for me, it took me way too long to understand that it's not a bad thing to invest into your business. I was basically getting 90% of my business without any money, but I was spending a tremendous amount of time, and it was growing slower than I would have liked. So that's probably the main thing for me.
Well, that's a good answer. And that's kind of the key. We've probably already talked about this before. I know this is like our third time chatting, but that's like the key difference, in my opinion, between like the agents who really succeed in this industry and the agents who don't. If you come into this and it's a sales job and you're traveling internationally and you're blowing your paycheck, right? Which again, I totally get it. Like, trust me when I say that, like I've been down these exact roads, right? And then the flip side is if you're like, oh shoot, I want to scale my business, and to put the sort of infrastructure in place, I need to, do X, Y, Z. I mean, there's so many things you could do to help grow your business. So yeah, I think that's great advice for anybody who could potentially be listening. Figure out how to level up, what to invest in. And not even just marketing. It could be maybe you want to hire more agents, right? Recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, all sorts of stuff. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, the businesses that grow really quickly, they're not afraid to make that investment. Like you invest into Lead Heroes, a lot of money. I know that for a fact.
Stupid amount of money. Oh, the money pit of Lead Heroes.
It's never too late to make an investment in the Christian Brindle lead generation company, and
there we go.
We can do about.
I'm investing.
Investing. All right. That was my sales pitch of the day.
There we go.
But no,
I love it.
Another thing I wanted to ask you. So, rewind back a little bit. You said, when you first came in, people were telling you that Medicare wasn't a great business to be in.
Yes.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because I've talked to at least 2 agents this week that are contracted with us that, have been training since I came back in town. And both of them were like, I was, and both of them are actually life insurance.
Sidebar really fast. I want to tell you that those posts when you were talking about like crushing your wife, I wanted you to just like go for like a month. I just wanted you to run with it.
I might not be married in a month.
No, you're like crushing my wife at mini golf. Oh, the torture is continuing on the tennis court today. I was like, oh man, I'm like, this is hilarious. Anyway,
people were giving me so much flack too, because we were playing badminton with tennis rackets.
I know, I saw that.
And I'm just like, I didn't have anything else. Leave me alone. I'm like,
oh shit.
But no, like the whole time, we're playing badminton, and I tell her, I'm like, if I win, like first 1 to 10, I'm like, if I win, you have to take a picture of me posing in your defeat.
Bet she loves that.
She got a nice dinner in Park City, so it's not. It worked out.
Yeah, you can make fun of me. Take me on a date.
That's fine. Yeah, I wine and dine when I win, but
work for Christian. He will wine and dine you.
Put that in a business card somewhere.
So you were saying you had an agent kind of similar experience, right?
Yeah. So when I came right in, I was in a unique situation because I came in working with my dad. My dad, long time experienced Medicare person. So he was like, Medicare. Like I came in getting my health license only, and I added my life license a year later, kind of an unconventional route a little bit.
Very unique.
But, I had 2 agents this week at least, tell me that, and they're, life insurance agents, they're just adding on Medicare to kind of expand what they do with us. And that, their uplines were telling them, well, Medicare is only a seasonal business. You can only make money during AEP, and outside of AEP, you're starving to death. I'm like, and I told both of them, I'm like, I'm not starving to death. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm like, we've crushed it outside of AEP this year. And it's just, what I told them, my response to both of them was, the only people that say that Medicare is a seasonal business are people that aren't in the Medicare business.
Yep, exactly. So like the advice I was getting was coming from life producers, right? I was working at an FMO that offered Medicare, but they offered Medicare like, hey, 10th door down on the left and don't come back when you go, right? Like they didn't really want to talk about it. They didn't really want, the only reason I even knew Medicare existed is I got a lead order form, and the lead order form had 3 options. It was mortgage protection leads, final expense leads, and then the final option was Medicare. And I remember it was like my first week that I'm in this agency, and I'm all, wet behind the ears. I'm all excited. I'm holding this form, and I look at my agent, the manager, and I'm like, oh, what's Medicare? I'm like, tell me about Medicare. And then, it was just like, I'm like all excited. I'm like, oh, this sounds great. And just over and over the same answer from all of these life producers around me. Oh, it's a terrible business. You don't want to do that. Yeah, there's renewals, but you're not really making any money up front. And if you could meet with 20 people and make 20 grand, or, meet with 20 people and make, 7, just whatever. They would throw all sorts of numbers at me and talk about market, like everything was negative. And that's the thing. They were giving this advice because they weren't in the space. They weren't in the business. So make sure you know who you're talking to before you take advice from anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I tell new agents all the time. I'm like, do you really want to take advice from someone about the Medicare business that's never written a Medicare policy ever in their life? You know, like they wouldn't know what to do with it if you handed them an application. They'd probably like draw pictures on it. You know what I mean? They don't know what to do with it. And
Connecting the dots. They're like, oh,
yeah, like connecting the dots and whatnot. But it's so interesting. Like I I have I see agents all the time, that they're be in the final expense business. And I tell them, they're like, should I be in the life insurance business or the final expense business or the Medicare business? I'm like, I think you should be in both. They go hand in hand.
yeah, they really do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think it's good to focus on one initially, get comfortable, get familiar and learn it. But at some point it's a no-brainer. I can't tell you how many final expense agents that I've worked with over the years that I see killing it in Medicare right now, especially Medicare Advantage, because final expense and Medicare Advantage are basically the same exact clientele. So yeah, I mean, you'd be crazy to not overlap. There's so much overlap. And everyone does it their own way. Some people are good at just one thing. They focus on one thing, but yeah, I totally agree. That would be my advice at this point is you'd be crazy to not do both to some degree,
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I mean, because I think, the other thing too is, whatever you're selling first, like if you're selling Medicare Advantage, we all know can't do it same appointment, right? But it's so much easier to sell something to someone that you've already sold before, so
Yep.
How much easier is it going to be to come back in a week and get in the door? Like I'm not a huge final expense producer, but I mean, when I do write them, it's because I trip into them with my existing clients.
Yep. Cross-selling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's good to do both, but I agree. I think it's better to start with one thing and get really good at it. Like I have a lot of agents too that will come to me and they'll be like, I heard so-and-so talking about how great under 65 is. And they've been in Medicare business for like 2 weeks. And they're like, should I get contracted for that? I'm like, no. I'm like, get like a year of Medicare business under your belt first. Like 2 years. Don't worry about that right now. You're going to overwhelm yourself. You're going to try to deal with the marketplace and all this stuff. And you're still learning Medicare. You don't know what Part B is,
Getting ready to get ready. And you start. Yeah. I've seen some agents where it's like, oh, I just learned Medicare and got contracted with 10 carriers. And now I'm jumping into life insurance and I'm just going to contract with 15 more carriers. And like, they're not actually doing anything,
Yeah.
They feel like they're staying busy. Like you think they would get paid to get contracted with these carriers. Like it's nuts.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're coming up on almost an hour, man. So I don't want to take up too
wow.
much of your time. I appreciate you chatting with me today, but any
as well.
Any final Taco Tuesday thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah. In honor of Taco Tuesday, if anybody that makes a Lead Heroes order today should be rewarded with an honorary taco as a result. A taco promotion, if you will.
Taco promotion. I don't know if I can honor that. I wish I could. Yeah, maybe mention Taco Tuesday and you get an extra 5 leads with your order. There you go.
I think that's a deal. Here I am cashing checks that Glenn has to
yeah.
I'm writing checks that Glenn has to cash.
Hopefully no one's watching this. That's what I'm banking on, that nobody's watching this video. No one's listening to us. So there you go. 5 extra leads, man. You mentioned Taco Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday, everybody.
Happy Taco Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for watching and thanks for the time, Glenn.
Hey, no problem. Thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Enjoy your tacos.